He's got a big brain, Eric, that's his name. A Fortnite quest, he's seeking fame in the state tournament. He aims to win, representing New You. He'll defeat the sin with his skills and strategy.
I wanted to answer you with the question about the what I'm doing. I've been checking YouTube for music and old music. Just found some really cool tracks of. You see, I'm 72 years old, and back in 1970, when I was 20. We really had probably the greatest music that last century that year. It was spectacular what happened with the music. Woodstock and Jimi Hendrix and John Lennon and Bob Dylan and everybody, a whole huge production of music, because at the time everybody was making music because they wanted to do what they wanted to do, but also they weren't doing it to be socially, culturally correct, and it had a certain revolution to it, or what I call a revolution, which is I changed the words around, and that's kind of what I meant about the language, because a revolution means that we really recognize what's real right now, and it has nothing to do with anything from the past or any idea or religion or past projected idea, sociology, psychology, spirituality, or I guess you could call it business and science. Education, any of those, models that have been followed for centuries and centuries, in one way or another, because the new is really like here now, and that's always the case. That's what's really important. That's what's real, and the rest of it is all just memory and an echo. So, I mean, those are terms I'm using for it. I'm not saying I'm right about it or saying it, but the big brain, I get that, Eric, a little bit, and so
oh yeah, Eric's pretty cool.
Invited me here, or vice versa, because we do New You. We talk about it. And New You is the song, you just sing New You, New You, New You, New, New.
Yeah, I get you, man. And Eric's always talking about staring into the sun and stuff. It's pretty hard, but I've tried it a couple times.
Oh, okay, yeah. I got that. I do an exercise I call SPECS, which is like it could be multifaceted, but basically it's something like waking up and going out in the morning towards the sun, which we have our driveway faces east, so when I go out, if I do that, and then I can look into the sun, but I wouldn't recommend it generally. I mean, it's fine, but the idea is you're not really looking at the sun as the source of the light or the real being. You're looking at it as a symbol, that sense, yeah. But the real thing is not an exercise, is not something you have to do physically in order to make contact or recognize it or be it. And that's what specs is. It's sort of like a union with the exercise, with the, we don't use the word spirit, and we don't use any of that because that's a misnomer, again, of using a terminology. And so the thing is it's like a tuning in with the new UU is a way of direct contact, we'll call it. I could start joking, you know, I tend to do that with things like, well, the alienation. We're in the alienation here, you know, in the world, and something to do with the, you know, in a way, getting the United States out of the blocked consciousness, you know, the patriot idiocy, I call it, patriotic, idiocratic, behavioral control that's so absolutely intense here. It's so intense. And, you know, it's like game playing. So I relate that with Eric and you guys in that way, because, well, the game playing is all modeled and evolved along these lines, too. It'd be something like, well, let's say we wanted to follow the Egyptian gods, Ra, the sun god, and or any of the other gods, Osiris and Isis and so forth. And these are all relevances, and it's very important to recognize it. It doesn't mean that you have to recognize it in order to become included in some kind of like secret society, because that's nonsense. But that's what the past cultures created, or were being created in the cultures by whoever was doing that, which is why I called it the alienation. Because that is something to do with, in, let's say, the Egyptian were being hierarchied by the Orions, who were evidently the alien beings, let's say, that came to Earth and pretended to be gods and established themselves and set themselves up as controllers. And they used all the Egyptians, as one example, to be miners, which is to mine the gold on the planet. But not just the gold, but all the minerals, and not just the minerals in the physical sense either. It's also the psychic controlled module, identification and emotional, especially in the emotional level, where they, you know, everyone got into idol worship, and this was called the worship of Moloch. It was another one, another era of the past, where this is, well, it also relates to something where Moloch was kind of like a minor entity god. So, you know, when you see the fire dancers or the people who are going to sacrifice women, let's say, into the fire, there's a movie about this with Yul Brynner in 1956, or sometime around then, about the Mayans and having the big stair temple pyramid, and they would do sacrifices. And also, I think what's his name, actor from California, Mel Gibson, the one about the Mexican, not Mexican, but the Mayan, the Indians. Very violent movie. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, but the point was about this. Well, I could go off in a whole bunch of directions, so I'll back up to just go to ISIS, because in New You we talk about the all is, And the all is really everything, and it isn't anything in particular. And it's, in a sense, like the is or the ISIS, that the is the group in Iran or in the Middle East that's a rebellion group or a Muslim, heavy duties, heavy duty game players there, you see. And that's this metaphoric relation that we're trying to coordinate here so that people can understand what's going on and see it if they look for it in past generations or they look for it now in all of the current modulated systems, or if we look at it in the game playing avenues and systems, because it's a social, cultural, partially related context that gives people some form of identifications. And yeah, we need to see our identifications, or what we call avatar, right? I don't play a lot of games now. When I was a kid, I grew up with sports, and but I was really into games, and I created my own games, like with cards and dice and stuff like that. And I would use the statistics and create different. I did different things with different, like the dice was kind of a bar game, or I created a card. We had these games called Stratomatic was one, where you had all the players from the teams or the great players from the past, and you had all these team units that were created, and then it went from there. And there was a lot of course, card creation was baseball card and so forth, sports card collections. I had a really good baseball card collection at the time. Unfortunately, it got stolen, and it would have been worth my retirement if I hadn't lost it. Actually, I hadn't realized it at the time, and that's the interesting thing to do. Is what you're trying to do, I think, to say is pick up where we're at now, and you want to know where we're at now in relation to everything else that is from the past and also from where it's going in the future. If I had recognized that with my baseball card collection, I would have saved it, because it would have been a financial, everything in price increase, and now we have another situation going on with that, where they're continually doing their control, and it's getting out of control, and that has to do with the economics and the money controllers and the Dark Lord who's at work with all that, or the Dark Lords, whatever, there's different levels of the thing. And so a new you is kind of a bridge across it all, and identifies this, because I can simplify it by saying there's really like 3 levels in the universes, real universes. There's the physical and whatever, this level is that most people recognize here. And then there's the intermediate level, which is like the psychic is related, the psychic planes, a lower level would be where the ghosts hang out. And then, but the 4th dimension is primarily, let's say that. And then there's the real universes could be said to start at the 5th level. And you go up to the 7th, which is actually the 7th would be that unified one of the all is. Now, I'm really paraphrasing the whole thing, And I had thought of this in relation to game playing, where I said, yeah, it'd be cool to create a game where people recognize the levels that they're on, and they have ships, their own, let's say their starship or their own ship. Our own ship is really a starship. We're a being of light, and we have our own starship, and it's something like the Jefferson Airplane Starship Group is trying to talk about, you know, and in music. Actually, back in 1970, the airplane, the group was called Jefferson Airplane, and they had a thing called Volunteers and a song called, wasn't Revolution, it was God a Revolution. Volunteers is the name of the song. And it had to do with becoming aware and yeah, wanting to get off the planet, get away from the country, the United States or whatever, the world nationalities.
What
all of those
planet do you want to go to? I'd like to go to Mars. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, here's another part of this.
If you could go to any planet, which one would you go to?
Yeah, you can go to any planet. You can. That's it. You can go anywhere and almost instantly.
Wait, even fucking Azeroth? That'd be cool, man.
Azeroth. Remind me again. I've heard the word, but
it's the planet in World of Warcraft. It's where the Alliance and the Horde are.
Minecraft, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Minecraft.
Right. I know a little about it. Hardly anything in terms of the game's operation, but yeah, I get that. So they have different planets and so forth in that game.
Yeah, there's like one planet called like I can't remember them. There was like one that was like Rizland or something, and then there was like another that was like Drip Galaxy or something. One? Yeah, it was like one where there was like it was like a race of pig people. It's pretty crazy.
A race of what kind of people?
Pig people.
Pig people. Oh, okay.
Like half zombie, half pig. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's the word though. I'll say Riz land. Riz. Realize. Or real is.
You know, my last girlfriend was a Gemini. It was this girl I met on WoW one day, and like, man, she like stole my account one day. Who's a real bitch. So like, I kind of have a personal vendetta against Geminis. So I don't know if I can like be out tonight. Like, if the moon is going into Gemini mode, man, that's scary.
What was her birthday? Do you know?
It was like I don't know, whatever month the Gemini one was. I don't remember off the top of my head. I looked it up at the time though. Yeah.
Well, it's just that there's certain parts of Gemini. Gemini has all kinds of different parts, and it's actually the sign of 3, the third sign, and it's like having 3 different personalities. And the third one, especially at the end of Gemini, which is around the middle of June, is related to the star Betelgeuse. And that's a real, mind.
Oh, like the movie, right?
It
was, it's got like the crazy thing where it's like Beetlejuice, like that one, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, see the movie Beetlejuice, and you'll start getting it. Yep.
Yeah. Because like something Big D always told us was that like movies are real, like those are fact. So I've been watching a lot of movies. I just got done watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and like I learned a lot from that one.
Right. I have a web page called soulrocker.blogspot, and I list movies and music to listen to and watch. And I've got like a set of movies, like about 10 movies that are, pretty informative. Some of the newer movies are sharing it, Blade Runner and stuff like that, are pretty deep. And these things about the Blade Runner is like a movie that they're presenting because they want people to go to a Blade Runner type of existence. They're directing the robotic and you know, like the zombie movie, the famous one back in the 50s, one of the very first. Anyway, there's a bunch of other movies. There's sci-fi, like The Day the Earth Stood Still, and they're all projective. Projections of the future or of what happened in the past also that is being projected towards the future.
Wait, so like another one I saw recently, it was like I went to a friend's house and like we watched Pacific Rim, you know, like it was one of those movies with like the big robots fighting the big lizards.
Right.
And like, does that mean in the future we're gonna have like big fighting robots that like battle like giant overgrown lizards, like the evil reptilians, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, you see, there's let's say that all these futures are all possible. And so from the point of view of an absolute, that's the future, well, no. But see, the AI controller and the dark, whatever they're up to, they're constantly putting forth these concepts, and the creative people making the movies see an opportunity like Avatar, and then they make the movie.
Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, or like the Blue People one?
The Blue People, the movie that the
Oh yeah, the one where they
Cameron
like
movie.
they have the funny hair, right?
Funny hair.
Yeah, they like reproduce with their hairs. Like I was really grossed out, honestly.
Is that Airbender or Avatar?
No, the blue people one that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's Avatar, the real big 3-hour, you know, mega movie movie by James Cameron. The one about the people who are like
Yeah, the blue people.
blue people. I've never heard him call that. Okay, so I don't remember anything about. You know, they go to a planet that's like Mars, and they have this.
Yeah, they're blue.
They have this. The military guy goes into the transformation box. You know, what do you call it?
The blue tube.
You know, he gets put into the machine, into the tomb, like you know, put into the shit. It's bad when you don't have the exact right word, but you know, he gets put into this box, and then he projects his consciousness into a body that's on the planet, and that's the Avatar. And now he's in the Avatar planet world, and he's half man, half fish or something, isn't it? You know,
he's half man, half blue.
Half man, half blue, and they can swim really fast, and they fly on the dragonflies or whatever you want to call them. You know, they merge with the dragonfly, big dragonfly, you know, and they merge in the consciousness with them, and then they can fly with them. And they get trained as youths to get their avatar dragonfly, that is, you know, that they union with. And everybody gets their bird that they union with so that they can fly. But you didn't see
Wait, so you told me I saw like bits and chunks of it, but like I kind of fell asleep halfway through, so like I don't really remember it that well. But like, right. You told me they marry the birds.
No, they have a
That's pretty
union
crazy.
with them. They have a consciousness union with them.
Yeah, it's like what
It's
marriage
like
is, right?
breaking
It's
a
like how my
horse.
parents explained it.
It's like breaking a horse. You know, when a
What is
rider
breaking
breaks a
a
horse that's
horse?
wild.
All right, I don't really understand, but like, continue.
Yeah. Well, you know, when a rider, a person, there's a horse that needs to be broken. That means like a stallion or something, and you have to break it in order to be able to ride it. They call it breaking a horse. And so once that horse is broken, it can be ridden. And usually the person that breaks it is the one who does the riding with it, but not always. So in the Avatar movie, the guy uh, gets a dragonfly, which is, I'm just using the term dragonfly for a big, big bird, that it jumps up on and unifies its consciousness, his consciousness with the bird, so that the bird will take its direction on where to go, to fly with it. Just like what you do when you're riding a horse. You have to give it directions where to go. And so there's a whole bunch of movies about called The Horse Whisperer is one of them. And that's a big one about this guy who knows how to take care of horses and train them and so forth and break them. You know, in a very gentle, you know, like really sharp way, you know, really adept.
My ex-wife said she was trying to break me, and I wasn't quite sure what she was meaning by that.
That's exactly what she means.
Ugh.
She wants to break you so that she has control over you, so that you will do what she wants and follow her directions. And, you know, be a servant with her, you know. And she might not have meant it in a really bad way, but probably she, in some ways, yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a, but, you know, the horses are open to being controlled. They need that at some level because that's their purpose. Part of the horse's purpose is not just to be a servant to man and be so that they can go riding. You know, the horse isn't there just to be a servant. Yes, it might be so that they can go riding together, which means together they can go. In the old days, well, I meant in my real old days, which you see, the other thing is another thing that's very important to start to recognize is what we, who we are, and what part of that is we have a lot of past lives that we've experienced all kinds of different things, everything, in one way or another. And so I recognized that I was part of probably the same thing that was one of the other people in New Year's, my good friend Val, and I think that we were together in the steppes in Russia, which means the land of Russia, where we were horse rider people. There's a whole tribes of horse riding migrant, you know, peoples out there, and they still exist, like in Mongolia, so forth, like that. So these things are important to recognize at some level. And when I went to college, I took horseback riding. And I remember riding out in the West, in the Rockies, in a very steep trail in the Tetons. So I had all these different experiences, and it's kind of like the same thing. We all have had these experiences that are part of our process of becoming aware. And so you want to recognize the experiences of what they are. One thing I'll share with you and DUANE is that the movies that you're being presented with watching, partially it's an education, but it's also that they are hiding the movies from people at some level. And the other thing is that the movies they're making now are hiding the other movies and the other ideas. They're changing the ideas and presenting them in different ways than the actual experience was. They'll present history like they're doing this now with the English movies with the lords and ladies and all that nobility crap. My friend Val is living with DUANE, and I've known Val for 40 or more years, and we studied the group that we were with, and DUANE also had studied this way back, 1980, and we got the whole education about everything that was going on in a different framework, let's say, because what happens is the real thing gets presented to everybody, and it gets presented in the present, again, of course, but it really is just the real thing, whatever that is, and it's not anything that we own and that we're have an agenda on, and that we're trying to tell everybody, you have to do this and you can't do that, and none of that crap. It has everything to do with just a sharing in a totally, let's say, utilitarian way.
He's got a big brain.